Hello, everybody, and welcome to Capsim's webinar on fixing retention from inside Gateway courses. I am Bob McDonald, Capsim's Director of Global Engagement, and I'm joined in today's webinar by Jordan Novak, Capsim's VP of Product and Services. In addition to leading Capsim's innovative product and support teams, Jordan is also an instructor at DePaul University's Dry House School of Business. Now, before we get started, I do have a housekeeping note. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit your questions by clicking on the question mark box at the bottom of the screen. We'll have time at the end of today's webinar to answer any questions. So the origin for today's webinar originated from conversations that we had with business school deans and faculty. For those of you who are not familiar with Capsim, over the last 40 years, we've worked closely with business schools to improve business education through experiential learning opportunities using our best-in-class business simulations. And the topic of student retention and student success, particularly in Gateway courses, kept coming up more and more often. So Gateway courses, as you know, are those courses that students typically take at the beginning of their academic career. So those are Intro to Finance, Principles of Management, Intro to Accounting, Intro to Marketing, and also Microeconomics. So being Capsim, we started thinking with our experience, how could we be helpful in improving retention in Gateway courses? So the first step we took was to look at some data regarding Gateway courses. Specifically, we examined DFWI rates. This percent or true and incomplete. And the data was, quite frankly, a little bit embarrassing. In 2- and 4-year colleges, DFWI rates in Gateway courses overall range from 25% to 37% of students. And business Gateway courses in particular, 43% of students in Intro Accounting and Finance courses earned a DFWI grade. And for Intro to Microeconomics, it was even worse, about 47% of students.
Looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulty on Bob's side. So really what we want to do is take a step back, and given this data, we had to dig deeper into the structure of the Gateway courses themselves to gain more insight into really what could be driving those numbers. And why is it that Gateway courses are so hard to get right? First of all, Gateway courses are filled with students who are new to college. And these students bring to class a wide range of educational backgrounds. The Gateway course content packs a lot of foundational information to be delivered in a short amount of time. And these courses tend to have larger enrollments, making it a challenge to personalize the learning experience. So having looked at the retention data and structure of the Gateway courses, we then asked schools about their current approaches to addressing student retention challenges in Gateway courses. Specifically, we wanted to know why the retention problem really exists. And we found out that there's really 3 main types of retention solutions, or really approaches. There's the in-class solutions, such as the learning management systems or publisher tools. There's the extracurricular solutions, like tutoring and academic services. And then the overall institutional approaches, right, where we do a lot of that curricular overhaul. And it became clear that these approaches have benefits, absolutely, but they also have some real limitations. So a quick example of that, learning management systems and publisher tools are scalable, right? But they tend to have a one-size-fits-all approach that may not be relevant or relatable to students in the Gateway business classes. For the extracurricular supports, like tutoring, they absolutely positively impact student success. However, the ones that we really need to get into the tutoring centers don't necessarily make those appointments and go in. Lastly, the curricular overhauls can absolutely address a lot of the root cause of retention issues. They take a really long time to complete, and they're a heavy lift for the faculty. And oftentimes, by the time you've completely, overhauled your curriculum, the challenge has changed. So the target is constantly moving. So knowing these limitations, we've developed an approach that really improves those DFWI rates, then avoids those pitfalls. So I'm going to talk about really our path forward. And this became our North Star. We wanted to build a solution that fits inside of the gateway courses without disrupting what works. A backbone, really the whole backbone behind this initiative, really came from the conversations that we had from students, faculty, and deans. We learned three things right up front. Number one, it has to be experiential. And yes, I know we're a simulation company, so we think about simulations and experiential learning, but we really believe as a core philosophy at Capsim that people learn best by doing. We also know that it has to be flexible. There is no one size fits all concept like Bob was talking about earlier, right? There's a lot of different ways that these courses are being deployed. So we have to have something that's really flexible. And it has to be data driven. We cannot just pay lip service about it being data driven. It has to give real insights. So those core design elements really became our marching orders. When we took a look at what platforms that we have on our disposal at Capsim, we realized that CapsimInbox was a really perfect fit. This platform, what you see on your screen here, was initially designed to mimic more of an in-basket activity, something that simulated a day in the life of a working professional. And since then, since about 10 years ago that we rolled that platform out, the CapsimInbox platform has been used by hundreds of thousands of learners, ranging from high school students all the way through to executives in the C-suite of Fortune 500 companies. It's won awards and been recognized in the industry for its sound design and impact on learning. In short, it's a really slick tool. So the structure and the bones were there. We had a good platform. The challenge really became, how do we take this really proven tool and make it work best for the gateway courses? And we knew that it wasn't going to be a replacement for great teaching. It's a way to make that teaching more impactful, especially at scale. And when we're thinking about scale, we're also thinking about how it scales to bring value from the student all the way up to the administration. For students, we know they're going through a lot of coursework and dealing with a lot of change. And in those gateway courses, those first year students, they're going through a lot of transition. They may have just been in high school last year. They need learning that's meaningful, manageable, and God forbid, motivating for them to complete. Our faculty, well, they're busier than ever. Their time full, their teaching loads full. They need flexible tools that add value to their course and don't take up too much time to learn or actually use in their course. And the last thing they want is to redesign the course up front, right? For our administrators, they're facing more pressure now than ever. They need real data circulated to them that will actually help them make decisions and help improve the learning. So let's take a look at what these simulations look like through the faculty lens first. What you see here is how we've built a series of short 15-minute simulations that are designed to be modular and aligned with what you're already teaching, and very easy to plug in and play. Each of these simulations tackle a different learning objective within that gateway course. You'll see that there are 8 of these learning objectives spanned across on your screen. Well, this represents a library of 8 short simulations that, again, only take about 15 minutes each to complete. And this harkens back to our design approach. We know faculty will not necessarily want or need to plug in a full library into their course. A lot of our professors that have been using our gateway simulations since the beginning of this year are finding that the sweet spot for them has actually been somewhere between 3 and 5 of these in the class. So if you're trying to think about how many really make sense for you, we're finding that 3 to 5 is about the perfect fit. So what that does is it gives them a lot of flexibility to pick and choose which learning objectives they want to further home with their students. And the best part, you can use as many or as few as you want and in any order. There's no sequencing that you have to really consider about this, and there's no linear format that you have to follow. So let's zoom in. Let's take a look at one of these learning objectives. So let's put our intro to marketing hat on and imagine that we're teaching that course, the introduction to marketing course, one of those gateway courses. A common learning objective taught in that course touches on market research and consumer insights. Makes sense, right? Well, there are a few topics that actually fall within that learning objective. And the simulation taps into each of those topics within that 15-minute experience. So imagine topic one takes about 15 minutes all the way through to topic three, about 5 minutes. You will not only see how well students understand and can apply this learning objective, but you can actually drill down into which topics they either excel or struggle with. Because the simulations take on the first line of defense for the instructor, they can actually focus on teaching and spending their time on what actually matters most in that course. And it may even give them more time to take the education experience to a whole new level. Could you imagine? And while students are playing the simulation, a constant stream of data is provided to the faculty that actually helps them track trends throughout the class. They can drill into specific student needs and figure out where exactly they should intervene, or pull it back and look at the entire course, all of their students within that class, and see if they are understanding the material or not. And if they're struggling, again, they can zoom in and touch on the topics that are the real pain points for the class. And I'm not sure if this is obvious or not, but it's a really helpful tool to spot those early warning signs before students really struggle, or even worse, they start falling behind in your class. So to bring it back to a high level, we designed this to be faculty friendly and ready to go in your course. It is plug and play. And when I say plug and play, I mean you don't have to do the research to see how this is going to fit in your class based on what textbooks you use or what exercises or cases you're using. We've done the research, and part of our research was talking to a lot of you. So we know the topics you are teaching. We've looked at your syllabi, and we know what matters most to you. So we built our library around that's ready to go to fit the needs in your class. And on top of that, you don't need to learn or master a really robust simulation platform. The administration is really easy. The setup is super fast. And you have a full company of team members at Capsim that are here to support you every step of the way. On top of that, it's flexible. And we designed this to perform well, whether you flip the classroom, you want to reinforce what they're learning, or if you want to use this as an in-class or a homework activity. Again, the fact that it's a 15-minute simulation gives you a lot of flexibility on how you want it to use. And that flexibility extends into being really easy to run across any modality. Capsim's been around for over 40 years. We've worked with thousands of professors. Millions of students have used our simulations. So we know that you need to be able to run this in a variety of different modalities. And on top of that, it easily integrates within your learning management system. So no need to burden yourself or students with instructions on what websites to navigate to, different logins. Look, schools are even working with us to build this into their course shell so that every time that the course is initiated, it shows up exactly where it needs to every single time. All right, now let's take a quick look at what that student experience really looks like. And again, I want to go back to, before we even designed a solution, we spoke to the educators out there and their students. And it really made us question a lot of our assumptions. One of the things that they let us know right up front is that almost every single person we talked to said, look, whatever you do, it's got to be relatable and timely, short for the students. So to address the relatability, we heard that students need to easily identify with the situations that we're putting them in. So we've framed the simulation as students working in an entry-level role where they're connecting with local entrepreneurs that have recently got their companies off the ground and are facing all sorts of different business-related challenges. These entrepreneurs are not running the Magnificent Seven company. No. These are entrepreneurs that are running a boutique educational toy company. One that has one location, maybe in the downtown of their local community, and barely has a website that is off the ground. Or they design and produce their own boomerangs for the sporting community. Or they run a dog training business, a dance studio, or create and sell their artwork on Etsy. The point is, we don't have students simply take the 30,000-foot view where they have to see the forest from the trees and how all these different business topics really connect with each other. We have them take the 5-foot view where they have to help with the real type of problems and situations that entrepreneurs are facing. And we put it through the lens of the course that they're actually in. So if they're playing one of those simulations in that introduction to marketing course, they play as a junior marketing associate that's helping entrepreneurs with their marketing related issues. Conversely, if they're in an introduction to management course, they're taking on that junior analyst role where they're helping those local entrepreneurs with managerial or people related issues. But each of these experiences has to be bite-sized and unique, which is why we have to recognize how our students have really evolved over the last 10 years. And if we're being honest with ourselves, since COVID. Look, simply put, each of our experiences are designed to take students around 15 minutes because we want to engage them quickly and get them out before they fatigue and those learning opportunities are lost. One way that we're working to keep them engaged is right at the point that they're struggling. So we're working to give them coaching and instruction at the very moment that they need it. But creating a solution for this takes a lot of time and energy. Well, I should say it used to. Since the recent democratization of generative AI over the past few years, we've been exploring how this can best help our students. As of today, students are having hundreds and up to thousands of conversations with our AI tutors that we've created for several of our more larger simulations. And these AI tutors are helping students learn the rules of the simulation, the different business concepts, how different strategies of running a business work, and some best practices of playing the simulation. So we learned quite a bit about how it can actually help students learn how to play. And we've been very intentional with how we designed them in an effort to not replace the instructor, but rather supplement the instructor and reduce the amount of questions that students are asking them outside of the classroom. And what we learned was that the benefit was well beyond just helping them outside the classroom. It was helping them at the exact moment that they needed it without emailing their professor, calling, scheduling with a TA or a tutor. And what we're working on right now is to bring this AI tutor into our entire library of Gateway inboxes. So coming this fall, we're working to include these AI tutors that are going to help students when they're struggling. And no, it's not going to give them the answers. Rather, we aim to have the AI tutors break down the situation and help students learn how to approach the problem and apply the concepts that they're learning from your course into that situation from the simulation. What's exciting about these AI tutors is that they never get frustrated or bored with the students. They don't get tired. They get more effective as you use them, and they're always available 24/7, 365. A little bit beyond what our current faculty contracts allow, right? All right, so we have these very relatable, relevant, and 15-minute experiences that have coaching built in right when they need it. And as they're going through these situations, they will be able to see whether they're correct or not. And I should say, more important than correct or incorrect, they see the rationale of why the decisions they made were the best course or not. It really continues to teach them throughout the experience. And if that wasn't engaging enough, the decisions they make in the simulation might actually impact the experience they receive. That's to say, imagine Bob and I are both students in the same class. We would still have a 15-minute simulation, but our choices throughout the experience may have actually introduced different entrepreneurs or different situations, while still sticking to the same learning objective and topics within that. So like I said, it's a really slick tool. But again, we're building something that's going to help students be more successful in your courses and stay within your program. All right, let's bring things home by looking beyond the faculty and the student experience and looking at how this plays out throughout the curriculum. When we talk to chairs and deans, they said they want access to something, they want to license something that adds value, not just to one course. What it needs to obviously first accomplish is to help address the problems within the Gateway courses. So as you can see, we have a library of simulations in each of these more traditional Gateway courses. That means we have 8 simulations in each of the introductory courses of accounting, finance, management, marketing, microecon. So 40 simulations, right? But we wanted to ask ourselves, can we have value in other courses throughout the curriculum? Well, the good news is you're not pigeonholed into just those courses. We found over the past few months that our lovely professors are using these in different ways than we initially anticipated. They're finding success by mixing and matching these different learning objectives from the more foundational courses and bringing it into other courses throughout the curriculum. Entrepreneurship up in the top right, that was one of those courses that made me literally slap myself in the head and be like, of course, why didn't we think of this? Professors are pulling learning objectives from every single one of the Gateway courses and applying it to entrepreneurship, which makes sense, right? Starting a business taps into the content from all of these courses on the left, right? Even other course marketing courses later in the curriculum are pulling simulations from these Gateway topics into courses like consumer behavior, sales, customer service. There's a whole bunch of other ones that I haven't listed here on the PowerPoint. And outside of the undergraduate curriculum, we're in conversations with schools that are looking to pull these simulations into those MBA primer courses, for the students that are engineering or other science related majors that didn't have the traditional business undergraduate curriculum. They may not know the difference between profit and cash or what a balance sheet really is versus an income statement. So we have to give them those primer concepts before they join their colleagues within their MBA. This is a great place to plug that in. In addition to that, we're talking to schools that are looking to put this into their executive education courses. Career services are finding value for this and other job placement resources. The list really goes on. Look, at the end of the day, whatever courses you want to use this in or whatever programs, we really want to give you easy to understand data. These data are going to help you track your students. What are they learning? What have they mastered? And what are they struggling with? You can slice and dice the data any way you want. And schools are actually working with us to use these data to flag early and repeated warning signals of students in distress so they can intervene and support them where and how it makes sense. The solution can easily scale across your departments within the college, despite where the point of instruction really occurs, allowing you to further differentiate your institution. But again, I want to go back and reinforce that the reason that we built this is ultimately to strengthen the retention at your school, help your students thrive in their academic and eventually their professional careers, and do so without any real disruption to your courses or doing any major curriculum overhaul. All right, with that, I'm going to hand the reins back to Bob to close us out. Bob?
Hey, thanks so much, Jordan. And thanks for demonstrating CapSim's agility and commitment to redundancy earlier. As Jordan highlighted, we here at CapSim do not believe that one size fits all for programs, for faculty, and for students. So we have multiple ways for you to contact us if you would like to learn more about CapSim's Gateway Inbox simulations, which Jordan just highlighted. You can simply enter a 1 in the Zoom chat, and we will get back with you. Or you can use the QR code to request a demo, or you can go old school and drop us an email at welcome@capsim.com. We really look forward to hearing from you and learning more about your gateway challenges and how CapSim can be helpful to solve some of those retention issues.